Hi everyone, it's Claire Stone with Celeb Angel Conversation interview, and today I have got the fabulous Victoria Mary Clarke.
Thank you for having me, Claire. It's so kind of you.
Thank you so much. You're such an interesting person, and I just can't wait to hear all about your incredible journey with the angels. So, Victoria is married to the famous Shane MacGowan.
Yes, you said that right.
We had a practice before we started with my woolly back accent. And he is the lead singer of the Pogues.
Yeah.
Very famous. And so, Victoria, tell us a little bit about your life. So, where did it all start with the spiritual aspect? When did you get into spirituality?
For me, I think it started when I was about around about 3 or 4. I'm not exactly sure, but I began talking to fairies every day. So I would go out and I would play with fairies in the garden. And, I told my mum I was playing with fairies and she was like, oh yeah, that's great. So I just thought that was a completely normal thing to do. And they took up a lot of my time. Like they were somehow very entertaining, because I never really felt like, we lived in the countryside. There weren't that many children in the neighborhood, but I was really happy just playing with fairies. I mean, I know like it sounds kind of crazy now, but it was definitely true. So I began and I talked to trees as well. So I would talk to the trees on my way to school, because we had to go quite a long way down a lane to get to the main road to go to school. So I would imagine that they were brushing my hair, and I would talk to them like as they were brushing my so every time I brushed past them, they were brushing my hair. So I was really into nature and nature spirits and little elemental fairies and things. And when I was at school, I became more interested in the traditional Christianity. So I got really interested in Jesus and Mary, and I began to remember being a monk in a previous life, and I remembered what it was like living in the monastery and doing all the prayers, and I began writing poems about it. And again, I think people thought I was a bit of a freak, like, a little girl writing poems about being a monk in a monastery. A bit weird. But it felt really beautiful to me. It just felt really like the most peaceful, beautiful thing you could possibly do was to be a monk.
And did your family encourage this spiritual side within you?
Interesting. I don't really know if they did or not. So they had their own thing. So they were into Eastern philosophy, and they had an Indian guru. So they were into meditation and yoga and Eastern philosophy. So I think that from their point of view, they're probably very open to lots of different types of beliefs, and they probably wouldn't have discouraged me, but they weren't particularly into Christianity. Like my dad's Jewish, my mum is a not interested Catholic, like really not into Catholicism at all. And I suppose like Catholicism in Ireland has been quite repressive, so there's still a lot of stigma attached to any mention of God or Jesus or religion in this country, because the church was really, really harsh, especially for women. And then I think very typically as a teenager, as soon as I discovered boys, then I was no longer remotely interested in any kind of spirituality. And that took a while. Like it took until I was in my late 20s before it came back. And it really only came back because I was one of those people who just knew they had some kind of a purpose, and there was something for me, but I didn't know what it was, and I was very confused. And I was with people, because my husband is a very successful singer, songwriter, but he's been successful since he was a teenager. And in fact, his first performance was when he was 3 years old.
Wow.
So he was a child prodigy. So he never had any doubt about his path. He was like, well, obviously I'm a singer. I mean, there's nothing else that I could possibly be. But I was like, well, I could be anything. Like I could be a designer. I wanted to be an actor. I thought about that. There's so many things. And I was like, what am I going to be? I don't know. There's nothing really strong calling me. So I used to go to a lot of fortune tellers to try and find out. And I went to tarot readers and palm readers and tea leaf readers and you name it, everything. Like I did all those things. And I was really interested to know about if I was going to make money and be famous. Because again, that was the other thing, like all my friends, like Shane and all of his friends were already rich and famous. And so none of them ever thought about it. Like it wasn't of any interest to them. They're like, yeah, that's just like, it's not why we do it. You know, it's not why Bono sings. It's not to be rich or famous. It's because he loves to sing. And same with Shane and the same with Sinead O'Connor, you know, all the people that we were hanging out with, they were not interested in fame. But I was like super interested. So anytime Shane got invited to, you know, a big premiere or a launch or something, I'd be like, oh, I got to get dressed up and see if I get photographed and see if I get in the papers. and like, they were like, oh my God, that's so like, so uncool. You're so uncool. Like, ugh. I remember once we met Gabriel Byrne, you know, as we were going onto the red carpet, and I said, oh, I love going down the red carpet, don't you? And he said, no, I really don't like going on the red carpet. He was like, it was like they all thought I was really weird. So it was kind of embarrassing, actually, how much I wanted to be famous. And I feel like it was probably just a self-esteem thing or like insecurity, because I didn't feel that I was doing anything really with my life. Even though I was writing and I was doing all these things and I was a journalist, there was no real like strong, you know, like a calling,
like a purpose. Yeah.
And so I went to a tarot reader. We were in LA at Johnny Depp's club, and Shane was playing there, and I was just like feeling that kind of like so inadequate, because you know, the more I get exposed to the VIP thing and the red velvet ropes and all these like bodyguards and stuff, the more I just feel like I'm really inadequate, because I'm not one of those people. You know, I'm just the wife or the girlfriend at that time. I wasn't even the wife. I was just the girlfriend. So I just felt like, yeah, pretty useless. So this woman came to our hotel and she did a reading, and she used tarot, but she was like clairvoyant as well. And she said, you know something, you have psychic gifts and you've got a gift for channeling, and I feel like this is important for you. You know, you've got to explore this. So she gave me some books about channeling, and I didn't bother reading them. Like, I took them home. I was like, yeah, really. Took them home, and about a year later, I picked up a magazine called Kindred Spirit, which is an English magazine, spirituality magazine. It's really nice. And in it was this ad for learning to channel your guide. So I signed up, and I went down to a place in Cambridge. This lady called Rita Alberti, the School of the Living Light in Cambridge, and she channeled guides and angels, and she was teaching people how to do it. And I'll never ever forget the experience, because it was so full on physical. Her guide, it was just like this massive being of pure love, and it was like hugging me and making me feel like, I don't know, like I was like more love than I could ever have imagined. And it was just so real. I felt it so much in my body. Wow. Like more than, you know, when you fall in love with someone and they tell you they love you, like way more than that, like multiply that by a million. And that's how much love this guide, which was just coming through her. Wow. And the guide said, oh yeah, you're absolutely in the right place. You're on the right track. You're on your path. This is going to happen for you. You're going to be doing all kinds of stuff. You'll be doing radio. You'll be doing television. You'll be writing books, and you'll be doing workshops. And I was like, wow, this is pretty amazing. So she taught me over about a year how to channel. And it's kind of an interesting process, because the main thing that helped us was being able to meditate. And that wasn't something that I'd really like done a lot of meditating. So like meditating and being able to keep it going like for more than an hour, you know, to keep focus, that was the real trick to it. And opening your heart, that was the other part. So like really meditating on love and meditating on compassion and kindness. And so I mean, I used to spend like 4 or 5 hours every day just like opening my heart and sending love to everything and everyone.
Oh.
And when you're doing that, the vibration gets really high, So then these beautiful light beings start coming and start like speaking, and I'm sure you've had, because your face, you're smiling and you're with me. And just before we came on the call, I called in Lady Nada, and it's just such a lovely energy, and they're all really beautiful. So yeah, I mean, I think it's the best thing that ever happened to me, and I'd love for other people to get, to get some of it and to somehow learn how to do it for themselves.
Yeah,
And not
because
to
we can
rely on
all do
someone
it.
else. Yeah, because we
Yeah,
can all do it. It's available to everybody.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's as available as breathing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I was a psychic reader for over 20 years, and now I just dedicate my time to helping people to do it themselves, because I'm
Yeah.
totally it's so empowering to be able to know that you can do this.
Yes.
You don't need another person to intervene. But so can I ask you, Victoria, when was the first time that you seen an angel or felt or heard an angel? Will you walk us through that?
Well, my first one wasn't actually an angel. My first one was Jesus, which was really surprising to me because I was following the instructions, the channeling instructions, and I had my friend read them to me so that I could experience it. So, like, it was a step-by-step process, like a guided thing to bring in your guide. And she read it to me, and I sat there, and then Jesus just popped right in front of me and was like, hello. And I was like, oh, this looks like Jesus. And he's like, yep, I'm Jesus. And I was like, oh, wow, what are you doing here? And he said, well, I just needed to tell you that you can hand everything over to me. You don't have to do it all yourself. And I was like, wow, that's so weird. And it felt really like such a relief. But at the same time, I was a bit skeptical about it. And I was like, I don't know about that, like handing everything over. I think, because I'm a person who likes to do stuff. So I felt like I was resisting that. And I was like, no, I'm probably going to end up trying to do most of it myself, even if Jesus wants to do it for me.
Yeah.
And that definitely did turn out to be true. So I didn't pick an easy path. I did resist quite a lot. And I think my ego resisted a lot, was like, no, it can't be that easy. It's got to be hard. You got to work hard and you got to suffer.
Repaying our karma and all that.
Maybe, I don't know. But then I began channeling, like, just because I suppose it's interesting, I began asking for celebrities to come through. And I got John Lennon.
Oh, wow. Imagine.
Oh my God. And John Lennon was the most, apart from that very first one, he was the most physical of all the people I ever channeled. He was right there. Like I could feel him. Like I felt like a man had just, like this gorgeous man had just come and sat right next to me. I was like, wow. And I could really feel his energy. I could almost smell him. And he was very strong, and he was like really determined, like he had a message. It was all about Yoko and how she was so underrated, and people weren't respecting her. And he said, me and Yoko, we talk every day, and like people need to know how great she is and what a great artist she is. And it was just lovely. It was just so nice.
Oh, that's amazing. Beautiful soul.
Beautiful soul, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. So when you receive,
he's laughing now because I'm telling you, and he just like, she's in Liverpool. I was like,
so when you receive a spirit or an angel or an ascended master, because you mentioned Jesus and Lady Nada, do you see them in your mind's eye, or do you hear them? What of your clear senses is strong? Which are your strengths?
It's the sensing. It's really the sensing. So I feel them and I smell them, and I feel their energy really strongly. And sometimes if they're speaking through me, they will take over. Like, so I'll feel them coming in, and I'll feel them kind of change my energy a bit. So they shift it around, and they open my heart straight away. And then they work on my mind. So I can feel my mind being like not messed with, but altered, upgraded, I guess.
Yeah.
As they move in, and the different energies feel different. So sometimes, like when I was channeling for people, their guides would come through me, and they would all be different because they'd be the guides of the person I was channeling for, and they would have a different way of speaking, so they would like use different types of phrases that I wouldn't normally use. So I
Yeah.
began to feel like, oh yeah, they're all different. And then my like typical guide started out with an Indian guy called Ashti, and he was a really sweet little, cute actually, very cute little Indian guy, and he would come and he would give me messages and he would talk through me. And then he sort of slipped away, and a group started coming, so more like a council of light kind of group. So
Yeah.
they said we are a collective, we're not a one person, we're a collective, we're a group of light beings, and we can come through you, but we can also access other beings for you. So they acted as a little bit of a like a post office, or like a switchboard for
I love that.
yeah.
And
um
who would they like connect you to, even higher beings? With
yeah,
like a
they
stepping
did,
stone?
they connected to higher beings, and sometimes the being would be so high that I would just be sort of like couldn't even like put words on it. It
Yeah.
was so beautiful. I mean, a lot of the time I spent just in this state of bliss where I'm just like, oh my god, I can't talk, it's too nice. It's like because I feel like the more you go down in frequency, the more you want to talk, and the higher you go, the less there's a need.
Yeah.
I actually interviewed an Indian guy who had spent 3 years in a cave, bricked in to a cave in the Himalayas,
Wow.
meditating on his own because he just wanted to be in pure silence with connecting with the divine. And when he came out, he didn't really like to talk very much because it broke his magic. You know, it kind of disconnected him a bit every
Yeah.
time he talked. So when he just sat there like this, smiling, he was like pure connection. And then as soon as he started talking, it was like he went back into his story, I suppose.
Yeah, well, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because when we're having a conversation, we're using the logic part of our mind then. So we're
Yeah,
slipping from either the super conscious mind into the conscious, because we've got to
yeah,
think about it.
yeah. We're thinking,
And the
we're
subconscious,
processing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So,
he was just really happy being silent. Even when his mum died, he said, "I don't want to come out." And they were like, "You have to come out. Your mum died." And he said, "No, I can come out later."
oh, do you know, you've got so many incredible stories. Could
Oh,
you
Princess
tell?
Diana, she was good. I did Princess Diana because I used to just love her so much. And I was I wasn't really that, like, I didn't ask her about her death. I just said, "Do you have a message?" And she said, "Yeah, the thing I really, really want to share is how much girls need to love themselves and how much girls are not loving themselves, they're not accepting themselves, and they're making their lives so hard, and they're punishing themselves all the time, and they're trying, like, you know, like she did in her life, always punishing herself for not being thin enough, for not being beautiful enough." And she said, "I would love to be able to communicate with girls and just say to them, you know, please love yourselves."
Oh,
Yeah, she was
oh,
lovely
that's
too.
amazing. Yeah, she is beautiful. What I was going to ask you was about your paintings, because you are an angel artist.
Yeah,
So when you are painting these, are you connecting to those angels and receiving messages, or?
yeah, yeah. So they begin usually by just kind of like making me draw them. And it's like I never know what I'm doing. Like I just start, and I might start with an eye, or I might start with a dress or hair, and I've absolutely no plan, no clue what's coming out. And then once they've drawn themselves and colored themselves in, they sometimes give the message immediately, and sometimes it takes maybe a day or two, or some, like one time it took 3 or 4 months for the message to come. And usually the name comes pretty close. So it's like the picture, the message, and then the name. And all of their names, pretty much all of them, end in Treya. So there's like Gala Treya, Maya Treya, Aluma Treya. They've all got these Treya names. And I was like, what's this? And they said, they're like a collective, but they're all feminine energy. So they're all like female angels.
Yay!
And they like to dress up, and they like to look nice. They all wear dresses, and some of them wear lipstick. Some of them have like really long eyelashes. So they're really into beauty, and they're very much into compassion and self-acceptance, and they're trying to teach people how to raise the vibration by opening the heart really to themselves.
Yeah.
To love and accept themselves, and how much that makes a difference is, it really does. It really shifts you when you do it.
Yeah, definitely. And they're so beautiful. And I couldn't help thinking when you said that they all end, the link into Maitreya, who is the ascended master who guided Jesus,
Yeah.
and Mary Magdalene. So
Yeah.
it's that
Yeah.
Christ heart awakening consciousness
Real
again,
heart,
isn't it? Yeah,
it
that
really
you're
is.
linking
And
into.
there's a lot of Mary, because I think there's a lot of the mother energy. There's a lot of that. But
Yeah.
some of them are quite sparky, and like, they're not all like soft. I mean, they're kind, but some of them can be like kick your ass as well. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. And I was loving the range that you have made. You sent me one of your beautiful masks. Thank you so much, with the Metatron.
Yeah, yeah.
And I seen Johnny Depp wearing your
Yeah.
Metatron scarf. And I've got to ask, does he believe in angels, or is he just, or you're not allowed?
He is very spiritual. He connects, I feel, with his Native American ancestry and guides quite a lot. And he definitely really loved the angels that I was painting, particularly the Metatron one. So he loves wearing them. And I think he's eternally like open and curious about all these possibilities. But for him, his probably his greatest gift, apart from being very compassionate, is being able to channel music and writing and his acting, so he can channel a lot of creativity really easily.
Yeah, because creative people, that's where you are entering your higher self, your soul.
Yeah.
So I think in a way it must be somehow easier to move into that, because it's
Yeah.
coming, you're connecting with the soul like you are in a meditation.
Yeah. I mean, all the musicians I know, they're very instinctively spiritual, and they wouldn't even label it. They'd be just like,
Yeah.
oh, I go into a zone, and then all this music comes, and all the words come, and like, all the stuff comes, but they're not really thinking, oh, I'm channeling, or they don't really label it like that.
Yeah, they're just being.
They're just being. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the more you raise your vibration, the more creative you become. It just goes together.
Yeah. I mean, we're speaking a little bit about this before the call, weren't we, about channeling things, and you were saying about how someone who you knew would never remember what they had just channeled.
No, I know, it's so weird, isn't it? Some people go into a total trance, and I feel like for me, I would have found that a bit uncomfortable. I probably would have been like, oh, a bit scared of that. I mean, I think that the reason I don't see apparitions very often, I mean, I've seen a couple, but not very many, is really that I would associate that with a bit too abnormal, like, oh, that'd be a bit weird. So, I like things to feel nice for me and safe for me.
Yeah, well, angels and guides, they will appear to us in a way that feels comfortable for us. So if that might be a thought or a vision or mental mediumship where you physically see them, that's how I've always perceived them. So that doesn't scare me. But I think if just one day it started happening, it would be like, oh,
I know.
What's going on?
And you'd wonder if you were going mad, or,
Yeah. And that does happen to some people. They just suddenly get switched on. Often it's through a life-changing event, I've found. So near-death experience, or where they've hit rock bottom, they don't want to live anymore, and then they have some kind of awakening. That tends to be the usual cases when this happens, unless people have a daily spiritual practice. Then we can all develop them quite nicely at a pace that's where we don't notice it coming on. I suppose if you look back to where you was a year ago, 5 years ago, it's like, wow.
I know. It sort of becomes more part of who you are, like
Yeah.
in your everyday life. Like I've really changed. I am a completely different person now. Like I was very, very, very self-centered when I started, I have to say. I didn't really ever think about anyone else except me, you know. So now I feel like much more like I automatically think about other people, and I'm much more um loving, I suppose, and
Yeah.
interested, and genuinely like not just like judging people. I used
Yeah.
to be very judgmental and very snobbish, like very elitist. And I feel like, you know, the whole thing about the celebrities and the VIP thing, it's quite snobbish and it's quite elitist. It's like we're behind a velvet rope, we're the important ones. You guys out there, you're just the plebs, you know. And that's really like it's just not a way to live. It's not a nice way to live, and it's not going to help you or anyone else. Like you definitely don't connect to your gay angels if you're in that state of mind.
Yeah.
Because angels are not like that. They're not elitist. They're for everyone.
They are for everyone. And have you got a favourite angel?
I feel like Metatron is probably my favorite, and
Yeah.
that's probably why I do so many like Metatron things. Like I'm doing a pendant now as well. And I think that the reason I like Metatron so much is that Metatron, to me, it's male and female at the same time, and it's the big upgrader. So it's like it's shifted me like, and it sometimes it's very uncomfortable because I'm like, oh my god, you know, it's not always easy, and you
Yeah.
face your demons and you face the stuff that you really didn't necessarily want to face, and all the stuff you buried comes out, and yeah, you got to be ready for that, I think.
Yeah, you've got to be ready for it. But
Yeah.
when all that rubbish is taken out, when it's removed, then you can build your life on solid foundations.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And we all go through challenges. There's not a single person on earth who doesn't experience loss,
No.
death, or illness. We all have these challenges. And I think working with the angels, it doesn't take that away, but it helps you, it gives you that hope. You know that you're never alone, and you can always call in some of that energy to make you feel better, to make you feel at peace, and to accept what is going on around you.
Yeah, I mean, I found that like it came in phases for me. So my first phase was getting connected and getting like messages and getting, you know, all the nice stuff. But then I hit rock bottom and I was really suicidal. And that was when I got the next phase, which was actually practical, everyday solutions to everyday problems. So like depression, anxiety, being totally broke. So I left Shane and I went to live by myself in a bedsit with no money. And I had to start totally from scratch because I hadn't had any kind of a career of my own, really, apart from a little bit of journalism, but nothing substantial. So I needed their help with everything, like literally getting a place to live, getting a car, getting a job, getting friends. You know, they got me everything I have.
Yeah.
And it was every day. Like I'd talk to them, write to them every day, and they'd write back and they'd tell me, do this today, try this, you know. So it was really step by step, like very practical, like a life coach kind of.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's how they are. That's how they've been for me as well.
And I'm sure that they are available to everybody to do that if people want it.
They absolutely are. And I always say this to when I'm hosting an event. I'm not a special person just because I can get a message from an angel. I'm no different from anybody else. The reason why I know so much about them and why they help me so much is because I mither them. I'm always asking, come on, angels, help me out.
Yeah.
What's this? Why is that? I am constantly asking, and that's
Yeah.
why I'm constantly receiving. So
Yeah.
people just need to ask and remember that angels operate under the law of free will. So they're not going to jump in and intervene. They didn't jump in and save me. I was on my knees begging, come on, help me, God help me, angels, anybody help me. And
Yeah.
they came and answered my prayers. So I've continued with that practice. So yeah, everyone, call in your angels, ask them, set an experiment if you don't believe.
Yes, and let them, like, it might take a bit of time. Like for me, I stayed skeptical for a long time, and I still was like, yeah, maybe I made it up, maybe I don't, maybe it's not real, maybe I'm mad, maybe I just imagined it. So they were like, it's okay, we understand, like if you don't believe in us all the time, that's fine, it doesn't matter. We're still going to be able to help you if you ask. So you can still ask the question, and we'll try and sneak in, around all your like negativity. So, like, yeah, I mean, they'll catch you in a moment where you've let go of your judgment or your suspicion or whatever, and they'll find a way if you let them, and they'll find other people. That was kind of crucial for me, is they always find someone else who can say the stuff they want to say. So they have like earth messengers who'll just pop into your life and tell you the stuff you need to hear. And it could be somebody in the supermarket, it could be somebody in a car park, it could be anyone. They can use people all over the place to give you suggestions.
I love it when that happens, when people have been guided by an angel and they don't even realise it.
You don't realise it. It's great. Or it might even be a piece of music that you hear on the radio. You're like, oh gosh, that's exactly what I need to hear. Or on Instagram. You might just look on Instagram and there it is, something that you need.
Always. So would you share with us maybe just one experience that you have had with an angel, or an example of when you've called an angel in to help with something specific? Has there been some like miracle moment?
Yeah. Like, so there's been a couple like where they were like, they blew me away, like totally blew me away, and they were kind of like serious and important ones. But then there's also ones where it's not such a big deal. Like, so like I had a Prada handbag that I bought in Italy, and I was really proud of it. And I left it behind in a studio one day, and I was really upset because it was like my Prada handbag. I only had one Prada handbag. And I asked the angels, and they said, okay, so you love this handbag. And I was like, I really love this handbag. And they said, okay, so just imagine how much you love it. Think about how much you love it. Love the handbag, and then love it back into your aura. I was like, okay. So like it was like you're magnetizing it back into your aura just by how much you love it. So I did it, and then a woman rang me and said, oh, I found this handbag and it's got your number in it, and I'll bring it back. And I was like, wow. It had money in it too. It wasn't just a handbag, but it had like, phone numbers and money. So this woman brought back my bag. And I feel like that wasn't a life or death thing, but it was just a really nice example of them helping me to kind of love something back.
I had a similar experience with this ankh. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like, it's not super expensive, it's only a silver ankh, but it's really sentimental to me. And I was going to the International Goddess Conference in Rome, and we got to the hotel and the ankh was gone. And I remember when we were landing on the plane, I was holding it like I always do, like, come on angels, ask Archangel Michael to hold the plane so it's not bumpy. So I knew that I'd had it on the plane, and I thought, is there something woo-woo going on here? Because obviously in Rome, with the Catholics, where the patriarchy was founded, because the ankh represents the divine feminine, we're going to the goddess conference. I thought something weird's happening. So anyway, I was like, oh, please angels, I really, really, I love that necklace so much. Please keep it safe. And I imagined Archangel Michael just pouring like a ball of energy around it to keep it safe.
Yeah.
And I just forgot about it. We were there for about 5 days. And then when we got to the airport going home, I just got a message, just ask. It was only an EasyJet, ask at the desk. And someone had handed it in and it was there.
Oh, that's
and I got it back. And that's a miracle. That to me, that is a miracle.
I know. And miracles can be tiny. Like I remember once there was a sale in Topshop, and there was this one jacket that I really wanted. And I got up early and I was outside waiting for the sale to start. I went in and I couldn't see the jacket anywhere. So I said to the angels, can you help me? Can you help me to get this jacket? And they did. They brought me upstairs and they made me look through a rail at the back. And there it was. There was the jacket.
Personal shopper angels.
So they do. Like, they don't just do the big stuff. They do the little stuff too. Like, I mean, I've had a couple where one time we were in New Orleans and Shane went missing. He was supposed to be on stage at a big gig, and he disappeared the night before the gig. He went to a pub, didn't come back, and nobody knew where he was, and he didn't have a phone, and he didn't even, like, we knew that he probably didn't even know which hotel he was supposed to be in, because he went on a pub crawl down Bourbon Street. And so people were phoning hospitals, phoning the police, and everyone was like, oh, well, he could be dead, fuck. So I asked the angels, and they said, okay, so what you need to do is you need to tune in to the atmosphere of total peace and of everything be totally fine. So, like, harmony. So just tune into harmony and tune into everything being fine. So it took a bit of work for me because I was freaked out too. So I was like, okay, so I did my breathing and I connected and I tuned into it all being fine. And I was doing it for about 10 minutes when the phone rang, and it was the tour manager, and he said, oh, Shane just walked onto the stage. I was like, how did that happen? He said, well, he was in a hotel. It was the wrong hotel. And a guy who had a ticket for the gig, I was like, what's he doing? And he should be on stage. So he said, you're supposed to be on stage. And he brought him and literally plunked him on the stage. I was like, now you play that gig.
Oh,
and
wow.
His name was Michael. His name was Michael, and he appeared on the plane the next day right beside us, sitting beside us on the plane the next day, as if to prove,
Yeah, you couldn't make it up, could you?
Couldn't make that one up. That was so
Oh,
good.
that's amazing. And so you've also written a book as well.
Yeah.
So what other projects, what have you got going on now?
So I am working on, I suppose my main thing now is to do some videos for people, telling, like, I suppose letting the angels speak directly to people through me, but helping people to connect. That's my main thing. Because, like, people say to me that when they wear the scarves, they feel more connected. So that was, I guess, the point of doing things like scarves, is because you wear it around, you wear it around your neck. So it's like close to your chest, close to your head. But now they want me to make some videos. So that's good. It's kind of a challenge, but I'm starting small, but I'm just going to do it. And because I feel like I just want to be an instrument for them. I just want to be like, whatever they want me to do, I'll do it.
Yeah. And where are you going to put your videos on your YouTube channel?
I think so. But yeah. YouTube and Instagram and stuff. Yeah.
So do you want to share your links? Where can people find you and your beautiful products?
So it's VictoriaMaryClarkeAngels.com is my website, and then at Victoria Mary Clarke is my Instagram.
Okay, well, we'll put all the links up so that everyone listening or watching can access your book, your beautiful scarves. And do you sell the artwork as well?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, sell the art.
Amazing.
I was telling you before we came on that it's my dream to do an angel world that's a bit like a Disney World, where it's like you go in and you experience angels.
That sounds amazing. I'd be the first one there when you open this angel world. It sounds like a dream.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, seventh heaven.
Yes, yeah, like that. Something really beautiful where people really get to feel it,
Yeah, amazing. And what would you say to people who don't believe in angels?
I don't think it matters, because it's not really about the messenger, because the angels are just messengers. It's more about the message, and I think the message is so simple. It's all about love. Everything comes down to love. So loving yourself, loving the people around you, loving your life, loving your work, trying to do work that you love. So the more you have love in your life, I think the more you become an angel, and you don't need them to come and tell you anything. So it's not really about, it's not about religion. It's not about angels. It's actually about you, and it's about how you live and how much you love. That's so simple.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this show. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'd love to speak to you again at some point. This would be really fun.
Anytime.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Vic.
And John Lennon is saying goodbye.
Bye, John.